to episode 2 of Data-Driven Tidbits for Teachers. Today we will be looking at how we can use the iReady percentiles to identify students earlier who may qualify for immediate reading intervention. We will be looking over 2 reports today that will help teachers identify a baseline for students. Both reports will help decision-making within classroom instruction and determine whether or not there is a need for immediate intervention based on the decision tree guide and how to utilize that data for instructional groups. iReady ELA Summary Report number 0657 can help identify which subdomains within the diagnostics have not been mastered by the end of the previous year and which may have impacted the student's overall performance. Let's take a look at a 4th grade class as an example. First, we can identify students who are on grade level coming into 4th grade. You may see there are students who fall within grade 3, but because we are concerned with students meeting grade level standards at the end of their previous year, we are only highlighting students who scored a late 3 or tested out score within the subdomains. Now, looking at the same set of data, we can go through and identify subdomains that are below grade level, which may have impacted the student's overall performance. Highlighted are subdomains significantly below grade level that would help the teacher in identifying which subdomains to concentrate on for which students. This may also be utilized when creating small group instruction within the classroom. Let's take a look at one student's score and dive a little deeper. This is a student's previous year's iReady diagnostic report with an EDW. First thing to take note is this student is currently in 4th grade, which means they should be performing at late 3 to considered on grade level coming into 4th grade. Looking at their spring diagnostic score, we can see their overall score is a level 2, which tells us they are not on grade level overall. Moving across the subdomains, we can see they tested out a phonological awareness, scored a level 1 in phonics, tested out of high-frequency words, and scored a level 2 in vocabulary. Taking a look at the reading comprehension scores, the student scored an early 3 in literature, but a level 2 in informational. From this information, we could come to a conclusion that the student had difficulty reading informational text because their vocabulary score was below grade level, making it harder for the student to understand possible vocabulary presented in the text. Also, we can move back to the phonics subdomain and make a correlation that because the student scored well below grade level in phonics, this may also be a cause for a low vocabulary score, which may have resulted to the low score in informational comprehension. Now that we looked at a student's previous year's diagnostic scores, we are going to use the same process with their current fall iReady diagnostic report found within the iReady platform and use the decision tree guide to determine what kind of intervention our student may need. First, let's take a look at the decision tree guides. Within recent years, students were not receiving immediate intervention instruction because there needed to be adequate amount of data collected before submitting for SBT. We are still following that same process, but the decision tree and iReady percentiles are to immediately identify students who may need additional support. This does not mean that if a student falls within the Tier 2 or Tier 3 columns that they should be immediately submitted for SBT. Teachers should still collect the data needed, but this is a guide to provide teachers as to what students will need supplemental or intensive support starting day 1. Here is a look at the K-2 decision tree guide for reading intervention. Take note that there are 4 rows, one for the beginning of the year, which includes the fall iReady diagnostic, and one for each trimester. As you will see, first trimester, there is no iReady percentile because students do not take it during that trimester. Additionally, kindergarten will utilize flickers for identifying students. Same decision tree guides are used for 3 through 5. What's important to note is that regardless of what grade level, with the exception of kindergarten, the percentile ranges do not change from grade to grade or between trimesters. Let's take a look at a student's current 4th grade Fall iReady diagnostic score and determine what type of reading intervention they will need to receive. We can see the student scored a grade 3 overall, but when looking at the subdomains, we can quickly identify which subdomains the student had difficulty with, both phonics and vocabulary. As we identified before, these subdomains may correlate with one another, so as a teacher, our main focus may be on the phonics piece in order to help the student raise their vocabulary score. We now want to look at the student's overall scale score number. Here we see their score of 496. With our student's score of 496, I am going to use the iReady Fall Diagnostic overall score to percentile conversion chart to determine whether or not my student will need to receive immediate reading intervention instruction. First, we want to locate the current grade level at the top of the chart. Next, we track down the column until we find our student's score. Finally, move across the row to the left to identify which percentile the score falls within. In this case, our percentile is 25%. Using the decision tree guide, we will be using the top row because we are at the beginning of the year with the fall diagnostic, and we will need to look across the row until we identify where 25 falls. Here we see our student is in the approaching core tier 1 category. This means our student will receive whole group instructional support along with small group differentiated instruction. Because our student scored the minimal percentile for the approaching category, we will want to monitor that student in order to make sure they do not fall into the supplemental tier 2 category with a reading deficiency. Using the same process from our one student, you may continue with the rest of your class to identify potential reading intervention tiers. You may utilize this information for creating instructional groups, ensuring students are getting the appropriate level of instruction immediately. This same process should be used with each preceding iReady diagnostic to ensure we are modifying instruction appropriately based on current data. Thank you for joining us for episode 2 of Data-Driven Tidbits for Teachers. Be sure to join us for the upcoming Data-Driven Tidbits. They will be posted every third Monday of the month, so mark your calendars now.